In this lesson, we're going to finish up our if-else statement. We already have the if statement taken care of, so all we have to do is decide what's going to happen if my variable does not equal 10. So we're going to need an else statement. It's in the same place as the if statement under statements and conditions and loops. Technically, this goes inside the if statement block, so if you're using Script Assist, you'll need to highlight the go to and stop action first, and then add the else. Now we just drop in what we want to have happen. And we do this just like we did in the if statement between the curly brackets. In this case, the curly brackets are here. So let's create a new line. And for this, I'm going to make the timeline return to frame 1 and keep playing. So we need a go to action. Will be a go to and play at frame 1. Okay, let's see what we have now. If my variable ever equals 10, then this timeline is going to go and stop at the end, or frame 20, displaying some kind of finished message. If it doesn't, then it'll go back to frame 1 and keep playing. And this creates a loop. And the if-else statement will cause the loop to repeat every 10 frames. Let's verify this. Choose Control and Debug Movie. At the left, select Level 0 and watch the current frame entry here. Hit the play button, and looking at the current frame property, we can see that yes, this timeline is looping between frames 1 and 10. Of course, unless we somehow set my variable to a value of 10, this loop is going to be infinite, and the timeline will never reach frame 20. And actually, this variable doesn't even exist yet. So let's declare it and manually set it to 10 in the first frame. Select frame 1 and add the following code. var, var, my variable, colon, and number equals 10, and a semicolon. Now let's test the movie again. Control and Debug Movie. Again, check Level 0. Keep your eye on the current frame property and hit Go. As soon as we get to frame 10, the condition is met and we jump to frame 20. Now I'm going to end this lesson by passing on to you another little tidbit of action scripting. What if we started the value of my variable at 0 and then made it increment or add 1 to it every time it loops? Well, then we'd have a counter. Try this. At frame 1, change the code so that instead of setting the variable to 10, we set it to 0. Then select frame 10. We're going to change the go to and play action here and make it frame 2. Because if we made it frame 1, every time it looped back, this variable would keep being reset to 0. So we need to take this to frame 2. And finally, add a keyframe at frame 2. And this is where we're going to increment the value of the variable. Here, under Operators and Assignment, you'll find a plus sign attached to an equals sign. The technical name for this one, which you'll see if you have tooltips turned on and you hover your mouse cursor over this, is store the sum of A plus B in A. So A will be the original value of my variable, which goes on the left side, and B will be the amount we want to add to it. In this case it's 1, but you could of course make it anything. So we type the name of the variable, then we add the plus and equal signs, and then on the right we add 1. of course, ended with a semicolon. Now, one thing I need to point out here is that once a variable has been declared with the var, var keyword, and we did this in frame 1, we don't have to declare that again. All we have to do is set the value of that variable using the name. Okay, let's go back to Control and Debug. Select Level 0 on the left again, but this time hit the Variables tab. Now we'll start it up. Watch down here because our variable is just about to pop up. Hit Go, and we can see it increment. The timeline is looping, and as soon as it hits 10, we're finished. Okay, so now we have a counter. Of course, this is very, very simple. We use the if-else statement for many more things than this, but it should give you a grasp of how it works. Of course, this is very, very simple. We use the if-else statement for many more things than just this, but it should give you a grasp of how it works. What you now take it and apply it to is completely up to you. And that's it for conditional statements. Let's move on.